Well, hello and welcome to JN's Tune Tech Channel 1. And this is a little bit of Kitsch and Sync, or basically everything but the kitchen sink, which actually the kitchen sink for me is only kind of right over there because I'm shooting this in a small little semi-studio apartment in Midtown Anchorage. Anyway, Kitsch and Sync episode 001. This is January 31st, 2012. And I'm going to get my reading glasses on now so I can find out what the heck it is I'm doing. Get a jump on spring is what I'm going to call this episode, since it's kind of actually the pilot episode. I'm not going to have like a little intro section teaser or whatever, but this is just kind of the break the ice initial episode of Kitsch and Sync here on JN's Tune Tech Channel 1. Basically, my goal here is to explore and expound on some of the technology and instrumentation and basically gear and techniques and experiences of the modern practicing musician in the small stage, real world, basically. And of course, real world being combined with the digital world is a lot of what it's going to be about as well. I'm going to try and do this on a regular basis and broadcast and hopefully get feedback, and eventually also I'd like to get some participation from some of you out there who might chance upon this and happen to be interested in sharing some of your feedback and some of your views. This first episode here is going to be pre-recorded and edited and played back, but I may be doing later episodes live streaming, at which point then hopefully we could even have some interactivity via a chat application if you're on the web watching it live. But anyway, basically this is my exploration of modern musician trials and tribulations in the digital age. And I will also be covering a little bit of live performance clips from my currently my open mic night hosting gig that I have downtown at a little place called the Indigo Tea Lounge in downtown Anchorage. And I'll try and present a few things from some of the artists and participants that come up there, and integrate it into a fashion to show you how I've been using some of my technology to make that work. Okay, so as I say, we're going to try and cover some musicians' gear and techniques, and basically also eventually get into issues and concepts and philosophies of the working musician, what we have to deal with as far as thinking about things like copyrights and whether or not recordings are going to sell anymore, or whether we should just get money off of performances. All sorts of related issues are what I hope to touch upon here, and I hope you'll find it enjoyable and interesting. Testing. This week on Hardware in Play, which is my segment where I talk about hardware and how it's been working or perhaps not working for me in the studio and in performance in play. I wouldn't call these necessarily reviews. They're kind of more of like examinations of the hardware that I've been adapting to my musical performances and to my tastes. And anyway, this week we have a coverage which is actually kind of belated. I filmed a lot of this footage last summer when I was putting together a brand new, for me anyway, Rackmount AV computer for doing digital audio software, DAW software, and also performance mixing, which is what I use it for now. Actually, I put it in this little 6 rack SKB rack case which is at the bottom of the frame here. I'm going to show you exactly how I put that little unit together and maybe explain a little bit of how it works.
Most of us are probably quite familiar with the standard personal computer tower workstation and assorted peripherals, and many musicians, including myself, have been using them for years in the home office and studio. But sometimes you need to have something that's a little bit more hardy, robust, and plugged in, connected, and ready for the road. And sometimes you just want to have that capability and be able to use it in both situations. Although it's certainly possible to find a custom builder or somebody that has a custom configuration available somewhere, I decided to go online and do some research, and I settled upon a place called Rackmount that sells chassis and parts for custom configurations of people who want to build rack mount computer systems. And I eventually settled on a 2-unit rack mount chassis.
I chose the 2-unit rack space design because it worked out within the size and weight that I wanted and still allowed me to use a standardized ATX motherboard, or mini ATX motherboard, and a full-size ATX power supply. And in fact, I didn't have to use any customized parts other than the rack mount case itself. I was able to put in my 2 SSDs and stripe them together for an OS fast drive. There's also space for a couple of other drives. I popped in an optical drive and actually left a little bit of space, which eventually I took up with extra USB connectivity. Managed to stuff all the cables in and routed everything to where it was pretty clean and had lots of room for air. Did have to make sure you marked everything pretty well because it does get covered up pretty quickly when you pack it all together. Put in a standard spinning disk drive temporarily for my media storage until I upgrade that to SSD for weight and speed considerations. And I plugged in using the HDMI video, which going out and setting up makes things a lot quicker than a zillion cables. And it seems to work pretty well. Fired it up initially with 8 GB of RAM. It has Windows 7 Pro 64-bit on it, and really doesn't even make any noise at all with the fans. I did have to replace the fans in the case that came from the manufacturer though. I put it all in my 6-unit SKB roll-around rack case, which I've had for a while, and now finally got everything that I pretty much need to fit in there, and it's been really comfortable in my home studio as well as out on the road or out in a venue as my sound control and playback system. I'm actually really proud of my little Rackmount RockBox and the flexibility that it's given me. Although it is actually still quite a heavy rack of gear to be carrying up and down stairs. But then again, the trade-off is that now I don't have to unplug and plug so many wires and connections back in every time I want to go somewhere and set it up and perform or record. Okay, so that actually segues nicely into small stage, big world. Or actually, I might spin this off into a separate channel of its own eventually. But for now, I just want to show you a couple of little clips and a small interview that I did just recently at the open mic night at Indigo Tea Lounge in downtown Anchorage. This is going to be an ongoing little segment. I'd like to get feedback from the people that are performing, and also if you are intimidated by the cameras, maybe if you watch this or watch a couple of episodes, you'll get an idea for what it is. I just want to kind of get some video clips of the performances and sit down with a group or a person and kind of ask them a few questions and get a little bit of an interview on what their take is on doing open mic night and everything. And some of their, maybe there's some of their anecdotes and experiences with the equipment, etc. So take a look at this, and if any of you out there were involved in this, thank you very much. And well, here's a little clip of last week's open mic night at Indigo Tea Lounge in Anchorage, Alaska.